The conference room fell silent as 8-year-old Emma Rodriguez slipped through the heavy oak door, her worn sneakers barely making a sound against the marble floor. She clutched a crumpled envelope in one hand and her mother's faded work badge in the other. The men in expensive suits turned to stare. But Emma's eyes found only one person, the silver-haired man at the head of the table, whose signature could destroy everything her family had left. "Please," she whispered, her voice trembling like a candle flame in winter wind. "Please don't fire Mommy." 3 weeks earlier, Sarah Rodriguez had been one of 40 names on a spreadsheet. Just another number in the quarterly cost-cutting measures at Hartwell Industries, one of Manhattan's largest investment firms. She'd worked there for 6 years, cleaning offices after midnight, scrubbing floors that cost more per square foot than her monthly rent, polishing windows that overlooked a city full of dreams. She could barely afford to dream. Richard Hartwell III had never met Sarah Rodriguez. He'd never met most of the people whose livelihoods depended on the decisions he made from his corner office on the 42nd floor. To him, the overnight cleaning staff were invisible, ghosts, who made the mess disappear before the sun rose, before the important people arrived to do the important work. But he was looking at Sarah's daughter now, and she was very, very real. "How did you get in here?" Richard asked, his voice softer than he'd intended. "Security was supposed to be airtight. I waited by the Christmas tree in the lobby," Emma said, her chin lifting with a courage that seemed too large for such a small frame. "The nice lady at the desk was helping someone, and I just walked to the elevator. I knew Mommy's floor because she told me once. 42, like her age." Richard glanced at his VP of Operations, Marcus Chen, who looked equally stunned. The emergency meeting had been called to finalize the layoffs before Christmas, a decision Richard had been wrestling with for weeks. The board demanded it. Shareholders expected it. The bottom line required it. "Young lady, you can't just—" Marcus began, but Richard held up his hand. "What's your name?" Richard asked. "Emma Rodriguez. My mommy is Sarah Rodriguez. She cleans your office." Emma took a step closer, her knuckles white around the envelope. "She doesn't know I'm here. She thinks I'm at the library doing homework." Richard's jaw tightened. He did know Sarah, he realized, not by name but by the small things. The way his desk was always perfectly organized each morning. The family photo that was always angled just right. The coffee maker in his private kitchen that was cleaned so meticulously. He'd once wondered if it had been replaced. "Emma, these are complicated business decisions," Richard said carefully. "There are many factors. She has cancer." The words dropped into the room like stones into still water. Emma's eyes glistened, but she didn't cry. She'd probably cried all her tears already, Richard thought. Now she was just fighting. "The doctors found it 6 months ago," Emma continued, her voice steadier now, as if she'd practiced this speech 100 times. "Breast cancer. Stage 2. She needs surgery after New Year's. But she can't afford it without insurance. She's been working extra shifts and she never complains. Even when she's so tired, she falls asleep at dinner." Emma thrust the envelope forward. "I wrote down everything. All the reasons you should keep her. She's never been late. She works harder than anyone. She taught me that if you do good work, people notice. But I guess that's not always true." Richard took the envelope with hands that suddenly felt heavy. Inside was a letter written in careful, childish handwriting on lined notebook paper. But there were other things, too. A drawing of a woman in a cleaning uniform with a heart around her. A report card with straight A's, a photo of Sarah and Emma at what looked like a school event, both wearing matching smiles, despite the obvious signs of struggle in their threadbare clothes. At the bottom of the envelope was something that made Richard's breath catch, a list titled, "Why My Mommy Deserves to Keep Her Job," with 15 numbered reasons written in purple crayon. "She tells me every night that hard work matters," Emma whispered. "That good people win in the end. But I'm scared she's wrong. I'm scared that Christmas morning I'm going to have to watch her cry because she lost her job and her insurance and she won't be able to get better." Richard looked around the conference table at the faces of men and women who made 6-figure salaries, who would go home to warm houses and full refrigerators, and children who'd never had to worry about whether their mother would survive cancer. When had he become this person? When had numbers on a spreadsheet become more important than the Sarah Rodriguez's of the world? People who actually made his life function? Who did the invisible work that kept everything running? Emma, he said quietly. I'm going to ask you to do something difficult. I need you to trust me. Her eyes widened, hope and fear warring in equal measure. Go back to the library. Don't tell your mom you came here. Can you do that? Emma's face crumpled, and for the first time, tears spilled down her cheeks. You're going to fire her anyway. No, Richard said firmly. I'm not. But I need to handle this the right way. Do you trust me? She studied his face for a long moment, then slowly nodded. After Emma left, escorted by Richard's personal assistant, the conference room remained silent. Finally, Marcus spoke. Richard, the board... Can wait, Richard interrupted. Tell me something, Marcus. When did we stop seeing the people who work for us as actual people? He stood, walking to the window that overlooked Manhattan's glittering skyline. My father started this company with 12 employees. He knew all their names, their kids' names, their dreams. He turned back to face the room. We have 800 employees now. When did I stop knowing who they are? Over the next 3 days, Richard did something he'd never done before. He came to work at midnight. He walked through the offices as Sarah and her team cleaned, not announcing himself, just watching. He saw Sarah work through obvious pain, saw her meticulously care for spaces belonging to people who'd never know her name. He pulled every file on every employee scheduled for termination. 40 people who weren't just numbers. They were Emma's, with families and struggles, and dreams that deserved more than a line through. Their name on a spreadsheet. On Christmas Eve morning, Richard called an emergency meeting, but not with executives. With Sarah Rodriguez and the 39 other workers facing termination, Sarah arrived terrified, clutching Emma's hand. She'd found the letter her daughter had written. She'd cried for an hour, then put on her best dress and prepared for the worst. Ms. Rodriguez, Richard said as she entered his office. I met your daughter recently. Sarah's face went pale. Mr. Hartwell, I'm so sorry. She shouldn't have... She saved your job, he interrupted gently. Actually, she saved all 40 jobs, and she made me remember something I'd forgotten. He handed Sarah an envelope, not a termination notice, but a letter outlining a new position, building services supervisor, with full benefits, salary, and the company's commitment to cover her medical expenses. But more than that, Richard continued, addressing the room full of stunned workers. She reminded me that this company only works because of people like you. So there will be no layoffs. Instead, we're creating a new employee assistance fund, starting with medical coverage for anyone who needs it. Sarah collapsed into a chair, sobbing, while Emma wrapped her arms around her mother's neck. That Christmas, Richard Hartwell didn't just save 40 jobs. He transformed his entire company culture, implementing programs to support working families, creating pathways for advancement, and ensuring that every employee, from the mailroom to the boardroom, was valued. And on his desk, in a simple frame, he kept Emma's purple crayon list as a reminder that sometimes the most important business decisions have nothing to do with spreadsheets and everything to do with remembering that behind every number is a human, heart that deserves to be seen,